Research methods in psychology. Scientific research. In ancient times, humans relied on superstitious ways of thinking based on illusions and superstitions, where knowledge and science were lost in a world of imagination and metaphysics. In addition to the limited human passion for investigating, obtaining and understanding facts, and knowledge continued to decline continuously until man began using scientific methods to know and explain all types of different phenomena, and this was by relying on sensory and cognitive experiences and employing and using them in a sound manner in all aspects of private personal life and aspects of public life, and the various aspects of life it includes, such as health, environment, and economy. It is possible to define scientific research in general as the precise scientific and experimental method of investigating facts and knowledge in an organized and precise manner, carried out by the individual with the aim of discovering new information and knowledge, or developing and revising previously existing information. And this is done using the steps of the scientific research method. 1. 2. Scientific research in psychology. Educational and psychological research falls within behavioral research, and this is mainly due to the fact that its subject is the human being and his general and different behavioral patterns. As for the nature of this research, it is of two types. The first is pure theoretical research that helps develop basic knowledge, and the second type is applied and experimental research that shows its importance and its value in practical life. Regarding the effectiveness of these types, some scholars believe that psychological research is clearly experimental research and does not give the theoretical aspect much value. However, raising the level of efficiency and quality of this research is not limited to the practical and applied aspect only. Accurate and successful application is based on a deep and correct theoretical understanding of all the data related to a phenomenon. 3. Research methods and methods in psychology. In all types of scientific research, the researcher must obtain all types of cognitive competence, so that he can employ it appropriately and appropriately to serve as research goals and objectives, and so that the method of research that he will follow suits the subject of his research, and the matter is no different from this in psychological research, as each specific behavioral phenomenon has the most appropriate and optimal method for studying and researching it. 4. And among the most important research approaches and methods in psychology are the following. The subjective approach. The subjective or contemplative approach is considered one of the oldest research methods in psychology and philosophy, the most primitive and the least dependent on science. This approach uses strategies of internal observation of sensory, emotional, and mental experiences, or internal meditation. The individual notices what is going on inside him through description and analysis, and this is reflected in his feelings and becomes a sense of sensation, which is called introspection or inner contemplation. 4. This approach has faced a lot of criticism. Some schools of psychology, such as the behavioral school, opposed it as an unscientific approach because it studies emotional states that are only felt by its owner, who may lack the skills of description and analysis, in addition to the fact that the person observing is the person being observed. This shows that the subjective approach is clearly dominated by the individual character, so it cannot be generalized. However, it is not possible for the researcher to do without it while carrying out experimental research. For example, studying some cases may require the individual to describe what he feels, and even in survey activities and referendums that study individuals' inclinations, attitudes, and feelings towards certain experiences. 4. The experimental method. The experimental method, it is the approach that aims to confirm a specific theoretical hypothesis by comparing its data with objective data obtained from the process of practical application in the real life of individuals. The goal of experimental psychological research is to control the causes that lead to the occurrence of a certain behavioral phenomenon, whether these causes relate to the individual or the organism in general or the variables that surround it. Thus, one can benefit from studying all the behavioral, verbal, and motor responses that appear on the individual. This is done by subjecting him to the variables that are intended to be understood or to ascertain their impact on him. This shows that experimental research depends on the intentional and studied observation of the individual and all of his behaviors under certain conditions that the researcher precisely sets. To test the validity of hypotheses and obtain correct causal relationships. 5. The descriptive approach is characterized by the fact that it describes phenomena in an objective manner, relying on data measured using scientific research tools and techniques, which has made this approach extremely important and developed, and it is known that the emergence of this approach began with the beginning of social surveys in England and France, and anthropological studies in America. The descriptive approach relies in its principle on interpreting phenomena by analyzing their characteristics, studying the inner correspondences, and the relationships between those characteristics and dimensions, to obtain an accurate scientific description of it. 6. The descriptive approach relies on collecting observations and data, extracting facts from them, comparing them, then classifying, analyzing and interpreting them, with the aim of making acceptable scientific generalizations about these observations. This approach is not limited to a specific case or one approach. There have been many types of research that have used it in conducting their studies, and the most prominent of these studies are the following. 6. Case study. Case study is applied in many fields, various scientific. The case to be studied is dealt with in descriptive ways, and this case is often a person, a group, or an institution, and the fields of studies vary according to the field in which the researcher specializes, and the research goals he seeks. Social survey. This research is one of the types of research that most contributes to the development of scientific social science studies. It contributed to laying the foundations and rules of scientific methodology to express social phenomena
quantitatively using methodological scientific research tools.